I'm Cynthia James, and this network is about changing lives one woman at a time.
Hello and welcome to Women Awakening. I'm your host, Cynthia James, and I am so excited and so honored that I get to introduce you to amazing women. You know, this is the time I believe that women are emerging on the planet to bring our light, our gifts, our nurturing, caring selves because it's needed. And so for me to be able to bring a woman every week to you that's doing great things, that's in high service and wants to make a difference on this planet, I mean, it brings my heart great joy. So we are on Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, Spreaker, Amazon. And those are audio. We're also on YouTube video. Look for Women Awakening with Cynthia James and Meet a New Woman every week. And here's the thing. These women are showing us that we live in a field of potentiality and possibility, and anything can happen if we say yes. So my guest today is someone new. Pat Rullo is the author of many books, including recent Healthcare and Hospital Hazards, the patient safety charity anthology titled Highway to Heart, Humor and Honesty in Healthcare, and Speak Up and Stay Alive, a patient advocate hospital survival guide. So she's a speaker, she's a trainer on patient safety and a host and producer of 3 nationally syndicated radio shows, Speak Up and Stay Alive, Authors on Fire, and 11 Cats Radio, which we will talk about. So she's a seasoned audiobook narrator and a producer, and she offers her radio experience to help others host their own podcasts. She's the winner of many awards. And the last thing on her bio says, and she's been rescued by 13 cats, and not surprisingly, she's an accomplished litter box scooper. So, Pat, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for that lovely, lovely introduction. I appreciate being a guest on your program. That means a lot to me.
Well, I want to start with where you were born, how you grew up, because you probably didn't drop on the planet and say, I'm going to be a health advocate.
No. Not at all. No. Although I think if there was past lives, I was involved in medicine because just from a young age, I seemed to understand medical words and jargon, and somehow that just seems very, very familiar to me. So I don't know where that came from. But childhood wise, I grew up in east of Cleveland, Ohio, out kind of in a suburban area. And yeah, I had a wonderful childhood, 2 wonderful parents and a brother who's 4 years younger than me. And yeah, it was a really lovely childhood, a beautiful neighborhood, friends, pets, the whole nice childhood.
Well, that's really great. And so when did you had this connection to medical jargon and stuff as a kid, but was it in college? What was it that started moving you in that direction in a more career way?
Yes, that was totally unexpected. I spent my whole life doing lots of things. I had taught music for a while. I had my own employee benefits company, kind of jigged and jagged and zigged and zagged wherever life took me, and seemed like it was something exciting for me to do. And I would do that. But yeah, the healthcare side of it came on an unfortunate situation where in 2008, my mom, who was 78 years old, very healthy, my dad had passed away. She lived on her own, and she had fell at work. She worked at a bridal salon, and she was carrying a big heavy veil from the stockroom to the showroom, and she tripped over a 2-inch threshold that was a building violation between the stockroom and the showroom, and she crushed her shoulder, which the physician then said she needed a total reverse shoulder replacement, which we kind of bought into at the time. And during that surgery, she was having a heart attack for 9 hours that went undiagnosed for 9 hours in the post-op room, whereby were taking EKGs and nobody was reading them. And I didn't know about this. So the next day, a doctor who I didn't know found me in the hallway, took me by the arm, and he pulled me into a small conference room, closed the door. He handed me a manila envelope and he said, "This stinks and you need to do something about it." And obviously, with great trepidation, I opened this envelope, and inside were 4 EKG rhythm strips. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I read the top, which, by the way, had my mom's name, Josephine, and it had her listed as a male. And then, but across the top, it said acute myocardial infarction in progress. So it was there in black and white. Every 2 or 3 hours, they were taking EKGs that said heart attack in progress, and no one did anything about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That hurts
yeah,
my heart. It just hurts my heart.
me too. So that left her in the hospital for 4.5 months. And once I knew that, what happened, there was no way I was going to leave her. So I stayed with her pretty much 24/7. And I felt like a ninja warrior. Every day I was fighting something else off, like crazy things that should not be happening to patients. And because I was there, she managed to survive, and I got her out of there after 4.5 months. And they gave her 2 years to live. She lived close to 9. And I really credit that not to me as being a hero, but just to being another human being that was her eyes and ears, and when I needed to be, her mouth. And through those years, I just studied and read and researched and learned as much as I could about her condition. And that led me to write a book called Speak Up and Stay Alive, which was just cathartic for me. I didn't write it for any other purpose at the time other than to help me get some of that horrible memories out onto paper. And as I was writing it, I thought this probably could be helping other people. So I started to do speaking events, and those just caught on like wildfire. And then I thought to do a radio show. And yeah, one thing led to the next. And that's how the radio aspect of it started. So, you know, nothing I had planned. It was all an organic journey.
Well, isn't that how life flows
Yeah,
sometimes? So
yeah.
I really want to talk. I want to talk about Speak Up and Stay Alive because about the importance of advocates for family members. Because when you're ill, you can't advocate for yourself. So, so talk to me about that.
I think folks are afraid, just kind of inherently afraid of the whole healthcare system, of doctors, of anybody who seems to be in authority. And because we weren't raised with medical background, we feel hesitant to even have a voice. And so that was my whole point in all of this, was the whole empowerment aspect of it, is that we need to feel empowered to take care of ourselves. And so if you have a question, to feel free to ask, and
Mm,
to basically demand that you do get an answer other than a brush off. And if something
yes,
seems wrong or off, it probably is. That we need to trust our gut, because we're not here just wantonly and randomly. We have senses. We may not be trained, but we know when something's wrong. And to be able to feel free to speak up. Now, you still need a bit of that education background. You still need to understand what's going on. So I always encourage people to do as much research on your own as you can. And a lot of times healthcare providers will say, "Oh, you read that on the internet, that, poo-poo, that's not important." But yeah, it is. There's a lot of crazy stuff on the internet, but there's also a lot of valuable information. So I encourage people to learn on their own, become their own teacher, and then to find their voice, get really brave and pull up your big girl pants, and speak up and ask the questions that need to be asked.
well, it's really interesting because I had a couple of experiences with that. My mother, we took care of my mother, and finally she was in a nursing home because nobody we couldn't take care of her anymore. And our myself and my uncle being advocates for her were life-saving, you know, for her. And the other thing is, like, I had a surgery about a year ago, and um there was a person doing something that was wrong, and I was crying, and the person wouldn't listen to me, and my husband said, "I need you to stop now." And the guy said, "Well, this is the," and he said, "No, I need you to stop now. She's in too much pain. Whatever you're doing is not right." And I thought, "Oh wow, if he hadn't been there,
Yes.
I would just continue to go down that rabbit hole of pain with this person just doing whatever it is that they were doing." So I love that you're talking about this, and especially, people went through so much with COVID and the pandemic, and and a lot of people are going through, becoming the parents of the parents, and dementia and all kinds of other stuff. But what when you wrote Highway to Heart, Humor, and Honesty, tell me how those things fit together.
When I decided to write that book, I pulled together some of the top people in the healthcare world, and then just regular patients and advocates. So that book is actually an anthology. I have 30 folks who I interviewed for my radio shows, and then I transcribed those interviews and put those into the book. And I just thought that was, the whole healthcare journey is kind of a highway, and you don't have a road map, but along that highway, we need to find people that have heart. There's also humor in healthcare, or there should be, and obviously honesty and transparency. Those just seemed to me to be the three key words. They all began with H, and so it just seemed like a good title.
Well, I think that is so wonderful. I mean, being honest in healthcare is super important. You know, Staying in your heart when you're dealing with
Mhm.
medical issues, but also sometimes having humor because it's interesting. So I want to know about, so Speak Up and Stay Alive became your speaking, and then it became the radio show. But okay, but how did that evolve into three? The Speak Up, Stay Alive, Authors on Fire, 11 Cats Radio. How did those evolve?
Yeah, that's a good question, because they did evolve. Again, nothing was a plan, so it's not like I know what I'm doing. I just follow where I'm led, I guess. So during the whole year, all the years I was doing the Speak Up and Stay Alive radio, I was interviewing folks, and a lot of people were authors. And I was finding that many authors just don't have an outlet to get their voice to be heard. So they write a book, and then what? And so I thought, well, maybe I can leverage my radio show and help authors as I interview them to air them on the radio show, especially when they dealt with health related issues. And then that just evolved into a bigger picture, not just health related, but all authors. And that's how Speak Up Talk Radio came about. And then the Authors on Fire kind of grew from that. And from the author interviews, then grew the Firebird Book Awards and the Positive Change Podcast Awards. Just one kind of fed on the other, and seemed to be a natural progression, because as I'm meeting authors, I'm thinking, wow, how can we get their work out there and get people to know more about who they are and the quality of their work? And that's when the Firebird Book Awards came about. So that's just been so fabulous for me, because I just get to meet so many wonderfully talented people, and we become friends. I just feel like no acquaintance I have met online or through the Firebirds or podcast has been random. We all seem to have a connection. And so now I call it the Firebird family of friends, because that's just what it is.
I love. Okay, so the Firebird Book Awards and the Positive Change Podcast Awards. Tell me the difference in those two, and how do you select winners?
Yeah, well, so they're two distinct programs. The Firebird Book Awards are just for books, and the Positive Change Podcast Awards are just for podcasters. Now, it's all tied together because both of those are tied to our charitable side of what I've been doing since my mom got out of the hospital in 2010. She couldn't work, she couldn't do anything. Actually, excuse me, in 2008. And she started making pillowcases at home because she couldn't do anything else. And every day I'd go to her house and she'd have 4, 5, 6 pillowcases. And I said, Mom, what are we going to do with all these pillowcases? So we thought about it, and I contacted Soldiers Angels, and this was back in 2008 or 9, and said, do you have any use for pillowcases, military pillowcases? And they thought that was just the greatest idea. So I was sending them to Soldiers Angels. They were forwarding them to the troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I even helped the Soldiers Angels set up their own pillowcase project. Well, then once the troops pulled out, we started to expand that to homeless veteran shelters, and then women and children's domestic abuse and homeless shelters. So I've been doing that since 2008 or 9. So that's when I thought, let me attach that to the Firebird Book Awards, Positive Change Podcast Awards, and we made it all tax deductible. So when anyone enters both of those awards, they get a tax deduction letter. It's tax deductible. And then I have some helpers. We make handmade pillowcases, really pretty ones, and we send them to homeless shelters and shelters for women and children, just as a way to pay it forward, give back. So that's how those two are connected, the book awards and the podcast awards.
Okay, so if I'm an author or a podcaster, and I want to submit for one of your awards, what do I do?
Yeah, our website, speakuptalkradio.com. There's a page for Firebird Book Awards. There's a page for Positive Change. And then you select what categories you want. And then we give prizes based on how many categories you select. And, sometimes it's cash prizes or it's author interviews. And there's just a whole plethora of prizes. And then I've got a whole cadre of judges, I guess you would say. I'm not a judge because I'm the kind of the front person, and because I have all these conversations with people, I don't want there to be any feeling of I don't even know what the word would be, favoritism perhaps. So they enter their book, they send us the manuscript, the cover of their book, and then I forward that on to our judges. 2 judges read the books, and we have a 20-question format that all the judges follow. 0 to 5, they judge those 20 questions, and then it all comes back to me to sift and sort and put it all together. So we run quarterly contests too. It's a lot of time and work, but I like the quarterly idea just because then no one has to wait very long to get the results.
I think that is so awesome. You have
Thank
such
you.
a heart of service, and you're right. When people get an inspiration to write a book or to start a podcast, they don't always know what they're doing. They just have this inspiration for it to come through. So to have a place where, it's one of the reasons I started this podcast, is so that I could give women a voice, especially authors and teachers. So I think it's great. And so you're married,
I am.
and do you have children?
I do. I have 2 daughters. One is in Colorado, and she was an editor of Mountain Living magazine. She was the editor-in-chief. And now she's kind of stepped back because she's got a little girl at home, although she's working for University of Colorado now to help put out some books of their own. And then I've got a daughter here in the Cleveland, Ohio area. She's a marriage and family therapist. She got her PhD in that. And so she's got a little boy too. And so, got a lot of good people.
Well, so I love that. Tell me how you found a way to balance your passion, your work, and your family life. What was your process?
Yeah. I don't know that I had a process. I just get up in the morning and do it. It's not like there's a great organization behind me or anything. It's just, you do what you have to do. But I do think that if you love what you're doing and you enjoy what you're doing, nothing to me ever seems like work. I never, ever feel like I'm working. So I just get up and start. And you mentioned I've got cats. I've got 13 cats that found me, and That actually takes a lot of time. One wouldn't think, but it does.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
My two daughters are off doing their own thing, so I'm not, raising a family anymore, but I do have these 13 characters that demand a lot of time.
Well, and okay, so then did they influence 11 Cats Radio?
They did when they were 11 cats, and now there's 13. I thought, I can't keep changing the title, so we'll just stick with 11.
And what do you talk about on 11 Cats Radio?
Oh my gosh, just almost the same as the Speak Up and Stay Alive. I feel like I want people to be empowered to know that oftentimes the systems or what we are told is not correct. We are led to believe that like dry cat food is what you should feed your cat, and yet if you read the ingredients, the first ingredients are cracked corn. And no cat in the wild eats cracked corn. They're eating animals. They are obligate carnivores. So a lot of my shows are about how to basically take care of cats based on what a cat needs, not what we're told that a cat needs. So I view all of it through a cat's eyes, which again, somehow I seem to have some kind of a weird connection there too.
I just so love this. I really do. Okay, tell people again, how do they find you?
Well, the Speak Up Talk Radio is my main website for the authors and the podcasters, and the 11catsradio.com is for the 11 Cats Radio show. I'm on Instagram and Twitter, so you can find me there.
Well, it's so delightful to meet you and to feel your passion.
Oh, thanks.
So I ask the same last question of every woman on this show. This show is called Women Awakening. What do you think is the most important thing for women awakening on the planet in this moment?
That's really such a big question, and there's probably so many answers to that. But I think that all of the answers might surround the one thing, and that would be to find a way to be positive, find a way to find positivity and to nurture positivity in your life, or to get rid of negativity. The people that surround you, make sure that those are positive, nurturing people. Even simple things like positive affirmations. I've got those posted all over the place. And it's not like I stand there and read them, but they're there. And it's still feeding my brain, and my brain is seeing that, and my psyche is reacting to that. So, yeah, I think if you're positive, then you stay healthy and you stay happy and grounded, and that gives you the energy to do the things that you have to do. And secondly, I would say not to feel like you've got to stick with one thing. It's okay if there's a lot of things in life that excite you. I don't think we were born to be monogamous to one thing or one career. It's okay to dance about and find different things during different stages of our lives that excite us and ignite us. So I think that will feed into the positivity as well.
Well, I just love what you said. I'm over here nodding for those of you who are listening. I'm nodding and smiling, I mean, why would you be put on the planet to do just one thing forever and ever? So Pat, thank you so much for being here. I love your passion and what you're bringing to the planet. It's an honor to know you.
It is a blessing to be on this program and to know you. And I look forward to so much more conversations with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, ladies, I say the same last thing every show with a different twist. I love what Pat just said. Listen, you are evolutionary. We live in an evolutionary planet. So your passion and your power will evolve over time. Say yes. Yes to your life. Yes to creativity. Yes to the new things that want to be birthed through you. You don't have to know how. The universe will sync up and show you. I am so honored to be with you, to bring women to you. I know you're necessary and important on this planet. We'll see you soon.